You've done that? What?
No, I thought that.
Oh.
It's like, how did it get on the ground in the middle of the road? Oh, it was flipped when they drove off. Pretty cool.
Yeah, dude strapped it to the front of the motorcycle.
It floated gently.
So can we start doing the thing that John Goodman and that other dude?
Just screaming at each other.
We're coming for you, baby Gale.
Gail Jr.
Gale Jr.
What a ridiculous. Oh,
I was like, this is a literal cartoon.
yes. The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So buckle up, nerds. We're talking Nicolas Cage week. Welcome back to another episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. I am your host, the Salty Nerd. And today's episode, we are discussing the infamous and kind of loony Nicolas Cage.
He's a whack-ball.
He is a whack-ball, and I love it, though.
What in the name of Zeus's butthole are you talking about?
We're talking about Nicolas Cage in 3 movies.
I had that line cocked and ready to go.
Yeah, he used it.
You had it cocked, locked, and ready to rock?
I did.
You can still use it.
So no, it's okay.
No problem.
I don't want to now.
It's such a great line.
You took it away.
It's been used. I can't sell a used gun.
Used gun. I like that.
Anyway, we're talking 3 Nicolas Cage movies: Raising Arizona, The Rock, and Lord of War.
You got to say it like The Rock.
The Rock. Welcome to The Rock. That was a fun movie.
Nice little bookend to our Sean Connery week.
Yeah.
And funny enough, so originally we had planned to do Nick Cage a little bit earlier because we wanted to do Nick Cage in November. And unfortunately, we tried to time it with the release of his latest movie, Jiu-Jitsu. And we got in just at the end of November.
Yeah.
Like November 30th. Nick Cage November. So technically it's still happening.
It's still Nick Cage November because we're recording it in November.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Sean Connery died, so that took precedence.
Well, he booted everybody else out of the way. Like Sean Connery had to have his time. But anyway, those are the 3 movies we're talking about today. I am joined, as always, by my panel of nerds, starting with the author extraordinaire, Matthew Kadish.
Oh, we're starting with me today.
I'm switching it up.
Right on. Zeus's butthole.
There's 2.
See, it works multiple times. It can happen.
I'm also joined by the barbarian space Viking,
Woo!
Matthew
Very
Vader.
smooth.
I'm getting better.
That's good. I like it.
I like it.
Zeus's butthole.
That's 3.
Yeah.
All right.
So since you hate Star Wars now, are you going to change your name to Matt Viking?
No. Vader stays.
Okay.
I'm always, you guys call me Vader.
Yeah.
You don't call me by my name.
It's going to be
so
weird.
I have to stick it. I have to stay with it.
We can start calling you Viking.
Yeah. Hey, I call you V in the text messages and stuff. That could just mean Viking.
What does V mean? Oh, it's vagina. Like, no, it's not what it means. That's what I would get.
All right.
See, now if you have to cut that out because people are going to start calling me vagina on
Vagina.
Twitter.
It's
I don't know.
V for very salty.
There you go. I'm also joined by the ambassador of estrogen, Kissed by Fire, Jude.
Oh, hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. And don't forget.
Oh, and Kurt Russell Terrier has joined us today.
Yes, we have Kurt Russell on our podcast on a regular basis.
Take a peek. Somebody's got to get a hold of him on social media and be like, hey, dude, this is our pod dog, and he's named Kurt Russell.
Yeah, he doesn't have an Instagram.
No?
Get on that, Vader.
When
But
he's cool enough, he
I've
can
been
hang out like
tagging
that.
Goldie Hawn and everything.
All right, guys, before we dive into these movies, let's take a quick break to listen to some sponsors.
In Jacksonville, you'll get more of what you want out of a Florida vacation and less of what you don't. For less lines and more unwind, come stroll down our 22 miles of white sand beaches. Here, it's less hectic and more eclectic with our weekly arts markets and vibrant outdoor mural scene. And with fresh local seafood, farm-to-table restaurants, and more than 20 local craft breweries on the Jack's Ale Trail, you'll be saying less meh and more Jacksonville. It's easier here.
With Metro and the best deal in wireless, whatever your goal, however you hustle, you can rule your day. Get 2 lines with 5G access included for just $35 a month per line, period. With taxes and regulatory fees always included, so you know exactly how much you pay every month. All on America's largest 5G network at no extra charge. Plus, at Metro, get the latest 5G phones, like a Samsung Galaxy, for less than $100 when you switch. That's the best deal in wireless, so you can take control of your day wherever it takes you. Metro by T-Mobile, empowering you to rule your day. Requires autopay. First month is $40 per line for 2 lines. Samsung A51 requires port from eligible carrier and ID validation limited to 2 per account. Coverage not available in some areas. See metrobytmobile.com or store for details.
All right, starting off today's podcast is Raising Arizona, the Coen brothers movie that I have never seen before.
Oh, you'd never seen this?
No.
I've never seen it either.
I usually love Coen brother movies. Like, I'm all for it. But this one was a bit out there for me. I had a rough time.
This is one of their bests.
This is classic Nick Cage.
Not only is it classic Nick Cage, it's like classic Coen brothers.
Yeah.
If you're not a fan of this movie, you're not a fan of the Coen brothers.
Well, that's not true.
No, I'm sorry.
Raises my hand. Not a fan.
I love like most of their other stuff.
This
Big
is the movie
Lebowski.
that put them on the map.
I believe
kinda
it.
set the stage for their
Yeah.
all their other movies.
I'm so glad we watched this during Nick Cage week. 'Cause
I mean, it's
I wanted us to watch something before people really knew who Nick Cage was.
yeah.
When he was younger and before he had this reputation of being like a wacko. Like this is a golden Nick Cage.
I think golden era Nick Cage is like early 2000s for me. Like that's when I like Nick Cage movies the most. Is like, you know, The Rock came out in the 90s, then you had like Family Man, Lord of War, like those types of movies. That's what I draw to when I hear Nick Cage. And
That's superstar Nick Cage. To
yeah. That's the kind that
that Nick Cage's career can be divided up into pre-leaving Las Vegas and post-leaving Las Vegas.
all right. Well, Jude, do you want to tell us what Raising Arizona is all about?
Sure. 1987, Raising Arizona. It's a Coen Brothers movie. It's about an ex-con and a cop who are married, and they find out that they can't have children, and they really want some. And there's a couple that has quintuplets, so they steal one. And hijinks ensue after. So this movie was made for $6 million. What do you think it produced at the box?
Domestic or worldwide?
We're only doing worldwide, as per Kadish has said.
Okay.
We should only be doing
worldwide. I'm going to say it made 28 million.
Okay. Vagina?
See, I get myself in so much
Oh,
trouble.
dude, you ruined it.
I know. Now I have to change my name.
Now I have to leave that joke in. Otherwise, her joke makes no sense.
No, you don't. You can cut that out. She can say it again.
I'm not going to say it.
What? $1.
$1 worldwide.
I don't
Okay.
care. This movie sucks.
Yeah, it did.
You know.
Table split again.
Yeah, table split. Jude, how much did it make?
$36 million.
Oh, I was
worldwide
close.
at the box. Yeah.
Nice.
I heard you almost say
I was going to say 30,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I brought it down a
You
little
should
bit.
have gone with your gut.
I should have.
Go with that gut, son.
It's too big. I got to make it smaller. All right. So $36 million worldwide. And this is early Coen brothers.
I mean, so far, it's still gaining. Just kidding.
is it cult?
No.
This is probably cult status.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
probably cult. Anything Coen brothers is pretty much
For
automatically
sure.
cult status.
Yeah.
I don't get it, but-
I think a good old Nick Cage movie, you can't go wrong.
Kadish, can you do me a favor? Can you list off a handful of Coen brothers movies? The Big Lebowski, obviously.
Blood Simple.
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou?
I love that
Where Art
movie.
Thou,
Yeah, that's good.
Yep.
Miller's Crossing.
Never seen it.
Oh, that's probably my favorite.
Is
Burn After Reading.
Bringing
Oh,
Out
I
the
like
Dead?
that movie.
What's that?
Bringing Out the Dead? Is that a...
No,
No.
that's a Scorsese movie. No Country for Old Men.
Love that movie. See, I like Coen brothers and that Netflix thing that they did with like the
Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar.
Hail Caesar was I don't
The
think I've
Ballad
seen
of
that one
Buster
yet.
Scruggs.
That one, yeah, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I
Like,
could not finish that one.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
that was a
stuff.
tough one for me.
Oh, see, I don't know. That's weird though, because if you're not like Coen brothers, like if that's your thing, if you really love their work, and then like there's like these extremes on either end. Like I love Buster Scruggs, but I hated Raising Arizona.
Aw,
And I'm
I
like,
love Raising Arizona.
it's weird for people. I don't know. This one, it seemed a little bit too cringy for
I feel
me.
like Coen brothers for me are hit and miss. There's either something that I like or something that I don't like.
Fargo's really good.
Yeah.
Fargo's great.
I'm not always like, ooh, Coen brothers, gotta see it.
The thing about Coen brothers movies is like there are definitely movies of theirs that I don't like, but even the ones I don't like, I can appreciate the artistry behind them.
Okay.
So like in my opinion,
Such a kiddish thing to say.
Yeah, it really is. In my opinion, like the Coen brothers, they're like the consummate auteurs, and everything they do, it's like, you're watching a Coen brothers movie.
Yeah.
Like there's no mistaking their movies for like someone else's.
I got to figure out how to use consummate auteurs in a sentence.
You just did.
There you go.
That was really good.
Check mark.
Just
I'm
Google
impressed
it.
right now.
But it's kind of funny because early Coen brothers, this was their second movie after Blood Simple. And Blood Simple was a very kind of dark and noirish kind of debut film from them. And it didn't really go over well. So for their second film, they were kind of like, well...
I've never even heard of that movie. Have you guys seen that?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So for their second film, they kind of wanted to do something a little bit more lighthearted and comedic. And they really kind of were inspired by this older filmmaker, Preston Sturges, who he was a playwright. He was one of the first, I think, screenwriters to make the jump into directing. So he was kind of like one of these early auteurs. And he kind of pioneered this screwball comedy genre where it was very farcical, like kind of like extra reality, I guess is how you'd say it, where how in Raising Arizona where like they're in front of the like parole board, and they're just like, okay then, like stuff like that where it's kind of like almost cartoonish. Like that was kind of the Preston Sturges influence on this movie. And all their early films were shot by Barry Sonnenfeld. And for those of you who don't know who Barry Sonnenfeld is, he was the director of Men in Black, and he was Tim Burton's cinematographer for a long time. And so like I don't know if the Coen brothers influenced his visual style or if his style of shooting influenced their visual style. But the Coen brothers, when they shoot a movie, they have a very distinct visual flair that they kind of permeate throughout the film. And so like that's how, like when you're watching a Coen brothers movie, it's a Coen brothers movie because of how it looks.
That's how it feels. Yeah. All their movies kind of feel like that. They have that
because of its weirdness.
It is. Yeah. It's very weird. Vader, what did you think about this movie? You're kind of with me. You weren't into it.
It was weird.
Yeah. Is it too weird?
I don't know. I didn't really like the dialogue. I didn't like the quirkiness. I'm sometimes I like those kind of movies, but this one just didn't really hit it for me. It's like, Lebowski.
Yeah.
I love Lebowski,
Lebowski's
but I don't know if it was the Coen brothers or if it's Bridges.
Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what do you think of Leonard Smalls, the like lone biker of the apocalypse?
He was pretty funny.
He was all right. He was interesting.
I do have a question about that though.
He was more, he was a cartoon character though.
Yeah, for sure. I liked his introduction when Nicolas Cage is monologuing over his dream, and he's like, and I saw a rider when everything in his wake was destroyed or whatever his like little thing was.
Killing bunnies.
He's killing rodents and bunnies and lizards while he's driving by, and when he drove by a flower, it lit on fire. It's stuff like that. It was funny, but Vader's right. It's very cartoony.
He's got the tattoo that says "My mother never loved me."
Yeah.
It turns out he's got the same tattoo as Hi.
Yeah.
It's funny because the actor who played that role, Randall Tex Cobb, he didn't know how to ride a motorcycle.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like they kept having to like reshoot him driving down the road because like he was just like, I've never done this before.
So he's all wobbly.
But it's funny because like you look at him, you're like, that guy totally knows how to ride a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And kill a man with his bare hands.
He looks like he belongs in a Mad Max movie.
He really does.
Yeah,
he does. I do have a question about it, and I don't know what was going on, but it sounded like he had a stuffy nose when he was talking, and he had this like, was it prosthetic? Did he have a prosthetic nose on?
I think that was really his nose.
Okay, that dude must have had some broken noses in the past then, because that thing looked like a cartoon character nose. It was like huge and all bulbous and swollen, and he sounded like he couldn't breathe through it. And I'm like,
maybe he was having a cold.
Maybe. I'm like, man, they put a freaking fake nose on
Maybe
that guy?
somebody punched him in it.
Yeah, so can I set the stage for this movie?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
So basically, Nicolas Cage plays a character named H.I. McDonough, or Hi for short. And he's kind of like this career, like, low-level criminal, like he just goes and knocks up liquor stores constantly. And so basically, he's in jail, and one day when he's getting booked to go into prison, he meets Ed. and Ed is actually a woman.
Named
Short-
Edwina.
And it's played by Holly Hunter. And he instantly falls in love with this, firecracker of a little policewoman. And so every time he gets out of jail and then goes back into jail, he kind of flirts with Ed. Eventually one day she's crying. And
he's getting booked for his latest
for his latest robbery,
his latest crime.
Yeah, and
here she's crying because her fiance had
she's
left.
Like, turn to the left.
Yeah, and then that really lights a fire under him to get his life in order.
He's like, you tell him he made the biggest mistake of his life. You tell him H.I. Madonna.
Tell him he knows where to find me. I'll be here in prison.
Cell block 12, whatever,
8 to 14 months.
And so his love for Ed basically convinces him that he needs to get his act together. So next time he gets out on parole.
He's like, so she's single now.
Yeah.
The two of them get married, and he goes on the straight and narrow, and she kind of retires from being a police officer, and they get a nice little starter home trailer house in the middle of nowhere, Arizona. And so they're trying to start a family, and it turns out that
she's barren.
Yeah, Ed is barren, so she can't have kids, and that just sends her down the spiral of depression, and it starts weighing on High because he's like, he wants to make her happy.
Yeah.
And then they read an article that the biggest furniture dealer in the area, Nathan, Arizona.
Unpainted furniture.
Yeah. This guy named Nathan, Arizona, basically his wife just had like quintuplets. And so they're like, it's no fair that we can't have any and they can have so much. And so they're like, well, they're going to have so many, they can't handle all them babies. So we're going to take one of those babies.
Going to do them a favor.
Yeah.
Take one off their hands.
So it's kind of like Ed's idea to go and steal one of these babies.
Yeah. She keeps telling herself they've got more than they can handle.
I think that's the depression talking.
So High goes on Ed's urging to kidnap one of these babies, and he kidnaps Nathan Jr. from the Arizona house.
Which one did you get? I don't know, but he's the best one.
Yeah. So they take him home and they start raising him as their own. And all these people from their past start showing up. In particular, John Goodman and William Forsythe who come in. They were former inmates with High in the prison. They break out and they come to High's place looking for a place to lay low for a bit. And so they're kind of suspicious about the baby. And then High's employer, who's like this really racist swinger, like he wants a wife swap and stuff like that.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like he gets suspicious as well. And basically, as the responsibilities of fatherhood start weighing in on High, he starts kind of reverting to his old ways, where in one scene he basically decides to rob a convenience store to get Huggies diapers.
I'm going to get these and that and whatever money you happen to register. Yeah. He's got a stocking over his face, and he's just like, it's the most bonkers stuff.
Son, you got pantyhose all over your face.
It is definitely like a wacky movie.
Yeah,
it goes over the top.
It's very screwball.
Yeah.
And all the while there's this biker from hell named Leonard Smalls who shows up, and he's a bounty hunter. And so he's looking for the baby. And basically, at a certain point, John Goodman and William Forsythe, they find out that the baby is really the Arizona's baby. They kidnap the baby so they can get the reward money, but they fall in love with the baby. So they're like, we're going to keep it. And they go and rob a bank.
Everybody
with the
names
baby.
this child after themselves throughout the entire movie.
It's always whatever
too.
their name is, plus Junior.
That's what Hicks do.
Yeah. and they also keep losing the baby. We'll talk about that. But so at the end, basically, High and Ed kind of recover the baby. They fight Leonard Smalls off. And then they decide that, because they know what it felt like to have that child taken from them by William Forsythe and John Goodman's characters, they decide that they don't deserve to keep it and they're going to return it to his rightful family, which they do. And the father kind of realizes, Nathan, Arizona, he kind of walks in on them returning the baby, and he realizes that they were the ones that kidnapped him, but they were also the ones who, brought him back because they realized the error of their way. So he kind of lets it slide. And then we have this wonderful ending where Nicolas Cage has a vision of the future as he's sleeping. And it was just, I think it's one of the most heartwarming endings in cinema, in my opinion, because it's just about, you know, like
cinema?
In cinema?
Yeah, in cinema. Like
Masterpiece. This movie is a masterpiece.
Jesus.
Well, I mean, wow. I felt genuine emotion at the end of this movie. And it's a very kind of like hopeful ending for a movie that kind of like flirted with like, you know, crime and murder and
I
darkness.
totally agree with you. So this is typically the kind of wacky kind of humor of this movie that I don't jibe with. Like I can't stand, I said before, like I can't stand the movie Dumb and Dumber. I just find it exhausting.
Agree.
But this has such a charmed element to it, and there's that heartwarming element to it, and I just find Holly Hunter like so adorable throughout the whole thing as she's like snapping at her husband.
That son of a bitch.
You gotta be a father now. We got baby.
You're gonna get the hell out of my house in 2 hours.
There's just something so charming throughout the entire story of this that all of the wackiness of it doesn't irk me.
Yeah, the Coens wrote that role specifically for Holly Hunter.
It works. I mean, she's good. I mean, I like her in most of the stuff that she does.
She's adorable.
Like everything with John Goodman and William Forsythe.
Oh,
and this,
I got to talk about this because I was like not digging this movie at all for the first however long it took before John Goodman showed up. But then when you see his head come out of the mud and he's just screaming, and I'm like,
as they're like escaping from prison.
yeah, they're escaping from prison, and they dug a tunnel under the gate to get out, and they're you see John Goodman. You don't really know it's John Goodman.
It's raining. The entire ground is just muddy.
Yeah, it's just
and his head just pops up.
And he just starts screaming, and he doesn't stop screaming for the entire time he's on screen. And I'm like, what is going on? And then eventually the mud kind of runs off his face, and I'm like, that's John Goodman. and then he reaches down back into the hole that he came out of, and he grabs a foot, and I'm like, what is going on?
Oh yeah, it was very.
It was.
Yeah, very much a birth. Out of
it was a birth thing. Yeah,
it was nasty.
And then as soon as he pulls his brother out of the hole, his brother starts screaming too. He's like, ah!
It was bananas. And then like they cut to where they went to the gas station and they were putting pomade in their hair, and they just like slathered this freaking Crisco, and they were combing their hair.
Yeah,
And John Goodman's
through the mud
sideburns
in
were
the
on
sewer
point.
that they walked through, they just throw that pomade on top of it.
Yeah,
I was like,
Holly Hunter was like, "What's that smell?" And they're like, "Excuse us, man. We don't usually smell this way."
It was a little bit too wacky. Like I'm okay with kind of like Coen Brothers wackiness, but this, I don't know, it was like lacking an element for me to really get attached to the characters. I felt like they were more annoying than they were funny, as opposed to like something like The Big Lebowski, where it's more funny than it is annoying. I don't know. It was just a little bit too over the top for me to really get into it. But that also might have just been like, you know how sometimes you have to be in the right mood to watch a movie? Like Napoleon Dynamite, for instance, is a great example for me. It's like, I hated that movie, like with a passion. And then I watched it with a group of friends, and I was like, my God, this movie's freaking hilarious. Yeah. So I think maybe that might have been the problem. I was watching this by myself, and I'm like, not into it. I wasn't feeling with it.
Like the movie's not the problem, you are?
It might be. Totally.
Yeah, but I had the same reaction you did.
Yeah, but maybe if we watched it together, maybe we'd be no, never mind. That wouldn't happen.
As Vader shakes his head, I'm never watching anything with you.
I find you annoying. I don't know, Vader. You already kind of said what you thought. Is there anything about this movie that you thought? Because you've been giggling as we were talking about some of these crazier scenes.
I'm laughing at Kadish's. This is a modern day masterpiece. Just the best movie ever made. No, I don't.
It's up there. It's
up there.
It is a masterpiece in my opinion. Like this movie, it's so unique, and it was like the Coen brothers. It was how they exploded onto the scene with this movie. And, you know, it didn't do too well at the box office, and it wasn't like a huge hit or anything like that. But over time, like everyone's seen this movie. And whenever you mention Raising Arizona, like people's eyes light up and they're like, oh yeah, that movie.
Maybe I need to go watch it again.
I only saw this movie because you guys made me watch it.
Had you ever seen it before?
No. Don't look at me like that.
Well, guess the podcast's over. You broke the band.
I've never been so disappointed in you.
Sorry, man.
I've never seen it either. I mean, I knew about it.
You're younger.
Yeah.
So I can give you a pass.
Oh, that's cool.
Later.
Yeah. I get a free pass.
There's probably a lot of movies I haven't watched that you think are masterpieces. And I probably didn't watch them because of the type of movies that I think people like you think are masterpieces.
There was something else, another element to this movie that kind of made me feel uncomfortable. And it was just how the child endangerment, like watching everybody take this toddler around
it was
and just
pretty funny.
abuse the hell out of it. And I'm like,
he wasn't abused.
he was
didn't,
abused.
not at
He was
all.
a happy little baby.
That kid had a great time, dude.
got put on top of a car and then they drove off with it.
In front of the motorcycle.
In front of the motorcycle, doing wheelies and stuff.
How he was a little outlaw. You could tell by the twinkle in his eye.
You realize that Baby
You're really
Yoda.
good at that.
You know, Baby Yoda is this kid, right?
You want to talk about?
Oh no!
Yeah, he totally is this kid.
You're right.
You want to talk about child abuse? So like the parents, Glenn and Dot, they have like all these like adopted kids,
Yeah.
and like they're just like he's like throwing stuff at them, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
writing like fart on the walls. And
Don't cut yourself. That guy's such a dick. I was so glad
making
when.
all the Polak jokes.
Oh yeah, that's super racist jokes. I was really happy when Nicolas Cage beat the crap out of him in that one scene. Yeah, I don't know, man. This didn't do it for me, but it might be me because, like I said, normally
It's not you, dude.
Normally, I'm down for Coen Brothers movies.
This is like one of those movies. You either love it or you hate it. I think it's just.
Did you guys spot all
But that's-
all the Evil Dead references?
no. I'm not
I
as
guess I
I'm not
didn't
as
really
well
know
versed
that.
in Evil Dead as you are.
So the Coen brothers are really good friends with Sam Raimi, and around this time, they kind of did a lot of homages to Evil Dead in this film. So one of the first ones is High's car. It's the classic. It's Ash's car.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, that,
cool.
that classic beige Oldsmobile.
Mhm.
And also they had an evil cam in this, where basically when the mother, the baby, realizes that he's been kidnapped, there's like this shot that's right out of Evil Dead where, it runs up, into the window and right into her screaming mouth and stuff like that. And that was all an homage to Sam Raimi
Oh, right on.
for, basically pioneering that technique. And it's interesting because
Alex,
the Coen
have
brothers.
you seen Evil Dead?
Yes.
Okay.
It's been a while though.
It's interesting because the Coen brothers do a lot of that, and Sam Raimi does it too. Like Sam Raimi actually had a cameo in Miller's Crossing, and in Fargo they had like this weird soap opera with Bruce Campbell on it on one of the TVs. So like they like doing these like little kind of nods to each other in their films.
I'll have to keep an eye on that on the future and see.
Well, can we just talk about how amazing Nicolas Cage is in this film?
He's
no.
so good.
like the hair, the mannerisms.
I love his hair in this.
Yeah.
It's so wacky.
And
It is-
it's funny because like his hair, whenever he's like in a more stressful situation, his hair gets crazier. And then like when he's like calm and like together, like his hair is like very like.
I got to give him
Keep
props.
going.
He does not hold back when it comes to like being in those like intense situations where a person is struggling. Like that scene where he's tied up to the chair, he's just going full on like crazy Nick Cage, shaking
Oh, yeah.
everything, bouncing up and down,
I mean-
shaking his head, freaking out.
Everybody that was in this movie,
Just went over the.
they played their roles great. I'm not gonna fault the movie for that but their characters were fine. They did their roles exactly like they should for a Coen Brothers movie. They were wacky, they were goofy, they were funny, they were
Over the top.
they were fun. But this movie for me just doesn't do it. It's not my kind of movie. It was a 90-minute cartoon for me, and I just wasn't into it.
Well, what's interesting is like, so the Coen brothers are very meticulous. Like they have a very strong vision of how they want their movie to look and what they want to play out. And so like, before this movie was even beginning to film, and they filmed it in 10 weeks, the budget was so tight that they sat down, they storyboarded every single shot in the movie. They knew exactly what they wanted. And then when they got on set with Nicolas Cage is one of those guys who he's like, well, what about my vision? And so like the Coen brothers and Cage were constantly clashing on the set of this movie because Nicolas Cage kept saying like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And they're like, no, we're doing it this way. And Nicolas Cage was like, no, we're doing it this way.
Sounds familiar.
And it's one of those situations where basically one of the reasons why the Coens have never collaborated with Nicolas Cage again is because of this, conflicting kind of artistic vision. And this is something that Nicolas Cage is notorious for throughout all of his movies. And most directors will just kind of like, okay, Nick, just do your thing. And someone like John Goodman, who kind of gets what they're going for, and
Yeah.
he's able to work within the frames they set. Like they collaborate with him.
Am I the only one who gives a shit about the rules?
Shomer Shabbos. And I almost feel
Over the line. We should watch that movie.
Yeah. Let's
almost-
do a Coen Brothers.
I almost
movie.
feel like
Should.
William Forsythe's role in this should have been for Steve Buscemi.
Yeah.
But the Coens, like once they find actors,
Damn it, Donnie.
once they find actors that they like, they tend to work with them on multiple different projects. And it's interesting to note that they've never gone back to work with Nicolas Cage.
I wonder if this movie came out after the Big Lebowski and Coen brothers kind of had that string of actors that they work with all the time. If I would have liked it, because that sounds more interesting to me. Having some of the actors from the Big Lebowski being in this movie, and I'm like, oh, that kind of sounds like it would be more fun. I wonder if that would have improved the experience for me at all. If they would,
I think the casting in this movie was spot on.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't really want to replace anyone like that.
Yeah, could you imagine what's her name, Julianne Moore?
Oh yeah.
In the role of Ed? Heck no.
No, not
Yeah, Holly Hunter really owned that.
Yeah.
But also like I really liked the stuff with Glenn or Gail and Eve, the two brothers, where basically like they kidnap the baby, and William Forsythe, he's holding the baby, and he's like, "Baby smiled at me."
Oh yeah.
And like right there, he just like falls in love with the baby.
Yeah,
That's what they do.
And there's that convenience store scene where he's getting like all the diapers and stuff for the baby, and he's like,
do you know how to put these on?
yeah. He keeps asking the store clerk, all these questions about child rearing.
How about when they take him to the bank robbery because it's safer than leaving him in the car?
Yeah.
He's like, we can't leave Gale Jr. in the car alone. What if we get killed in there? He'll be out here for hours. So like they bring him into the robbery with them.
You're right though. It totally is Baby Yoda, huh?
But the funniest scene in this whole movie is when they realize that they left the baby behind. And they just start screaming.
Oh my God.
It's like a good 5 minutes of John Goodman and William Forsythe just screaming their heads
At
off
the top of their lungs
as they're driving back for the baby.
Yeah, that was pretty intense. It was fun. That was funny. That was one of the moments where I kind of was like, yeah, this is pretty good. This is like Coen brothers good stuff right here.
The one scene that I did actually really laugh out loud hard at was when the blue balloon blew up in the money.
Oh yeah.
Because it was so over the top.
Yeah.
It was just like, wow. And the whole interior of the car
It's just completely
was just
blue.
completely douched in blue. It was hilarious. It was just, I don't even know why I laughed at it so hard, but it was funny.
And I like how like at the end of the movie, they just realize that they have no way of operating in the real world. So they just go back to prison.
Yep. They just walk.
Like they break into prison.
Yeah. Through the same hole that they came out of.
covered in blue paint.
It's pretty good. There's some funny moments to it for sure. And I think maybe I'm legit think if I was in like a different mood, maybe if I was more prepared for what it was going to be, I probably would have liked it more.
I do not feel that way.
No.
A lot of the humor in this movie is just so subtle. Like I love the parole hearings that we see High go through.
That was going to be my final thought.
Well, then I'll skip over that one. But
You
also
ruin everything.
You know, it can be a conversation, right? You guys
you could jump in right now and like add your 2 cents.
it doesn't have to be like, okay, Jude's turn.
I wanted to say I liked it.
But also he's like, I got a job cutting holes in sheet metal, and like while he's at the job, there's that guy there who was in the Coen brothers' first movie, Blood Simple. I forget his name, but he's just sitting there talking about nonsense, and High's just having to sit there and listen to it as he's like punching holes in sheet metal. And so like it's those little like
That guy. Yeah, okay.
you know the guy.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's been in so many stuff, and I'm actually surprised he's still alive because like he looked ancient back in the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But it's just like the humor in this movie. A lot of it comes from the dialogue. A lot of it comes from the situations, and some of it's like laugh out loud, belly funny, and others are kind of like a lot more subtle, where intellectually you understand it's humorous. But overall, like the movie, I think that the fact that it's just so charming and so heartwarming, and like the characters are all like so unique, like it just everything kind of melds together to create what I think is an extremely good movie.
Okay. Fair enough. I can see your point.
I
Philistines
don't
can't
agree with
appreciate
anything
it.
he just said, but okay.
I can see his point. I can appreciate his point of view. I understand it. I get it.
That's good.
It wasn't for me, but
Me neither.
it's all right if he likes
Heartwarming.
terrible movies. No, I'm just kidding.
Does the heartwarming feel good?
There's no 47 Ronin.
No, it's definitely not that much fun.
No.
All right, let's do some final
That
thoughts.
was way
Jude.
better movie.
Vader, aren't you the one that made us watch a Swedish musical?
Yeah, that movie was great.
Eurovision.
I don't like heartwarming things.
The fairies, they've gone too far.
I still listen to that soundtrack.
Do you really?
It was a good soundtrack.
Yeah, it was.
I'm not gonna lie. Eurovision, the
Surprisingly
Song of Fire
good.
saga.
That movie was actually funny.
Go check out a review of that.
Soundtrack slaps.
All right, Jude, final thoughts on Raising Arizona.
I love this movie.
Okay.
I love everything about it. I usually, like I said, like that kind of wacky humor annoys me, but it doesn't with this. And it's because it's so charming throughout. I love Holly Hunter in this. I think she's adorable and she's just a delight to behold in this role. It's just perfect for her. And I love all of the parole hearing stuff. So, and I love the dialogue of it when they're like, now you're not just telling us what we want to hear, are you? And he's like, no, ma'am, because we want the truth. Oh, well, then I guess I am telling you what you want to hear. I love it. It's so cute.
Yeah. All right.
And they're like, dang it, hi. he's like, well, I'm just trying to be honest with y'all.
I totally get why people do like this movie if they're a Coen Brothers fan.
Yeah. Has a lot
Well,
of those.
even if they're just a fan of good movies.
No.
This is a genuine good movie.
I disagree.
I don't know. Maybe it's because like of something like growing up, like I have a lot of family that are from the South, and like I've heard these conversations before. I've heard my granddaddy be
Is
like,
that why you're so good at doing it?
Yeah, I've heard my granddaddy be like, well, I don't want you to just tell me what you want, what you think I want to hear. No, granddaddy, I ain't telling you what you want to hear. I want to hear the truth now. Well, and then my sarcastic ass, like,
Yeah.
well, then, granddaddy, I guess I did. Dang it, Jude.
Did you have a Southern accent in another life? I want to meet that Jude.
I love that scene where like they're chasing, the police are chasing, Nicolas Cage after his attempted robbery for the Huggies. And they're going through like this grocery store and every woman there is just like in pajamas and hair curlers.
Yes.
And the police are just like firing their bullets like willy-nilly, like in civilian areas. And it's just like so off the wall, over the top. And Nicolas Cage, like throughout that entire chase scene, he just looks so bored because he's done it a million times. You know, the character, he's like been chased down by the police so many times that it just doesn't faze him. He's just kind of like going through the motions.
I love the quirkiness of this movie.
As a person who lives in the Southwestern United States, I was offended at the stereotypical way they portrayed our people that live in the desert.
People?
Yes.
The Arizonians?
Like we're all a bunch of hicks
You're attacked.
out here. But,
You've been attacked.
Yeah, I feel very offended right now.
That's too bad. There's no room for being offended on the Subtly Nerd podcast. All right. So I think, has everybody done their final thoughts? Kadish, you
I'm good.
Final thoughts on this?
I think I said my piece.
All right. Okay, guys. I'm going to leave judgment because you guys have convinced me that I need to watch this a second time.
You know, Alex, I'll think a lot of the time you don't like a movie when you watch it by yourself, but then the talking about it makes the movie experience better.
It's possible. I'm not gonna give it a rating or.
Don't be so weak, dude. If you didn't like it, you didn't like it. Go with your gut. Got to go with your initial thought process.
Shut up, vagina.
God damn it, dude.
That vagina 74.
I'm going to say.
I'm going to walk out.
It's over. You guys are going to make them
You
quit.
can find a fucking replacement right now.
There it is.
There's his F-bomb.
Dude. That's the last time you get to call him that.
It's the last Coen Brothers movie I ever agreed to watch.
All right. You don't suggest people go watch
No, fuck this movie.
Okay.
I hate this movie. It's the worst movie ever made. Not a masterpiece. Absolutely not a masterpiece.
Worse than The Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker.
Worse.
Really?
What?
It's worse. It's a piece of shit.
Wow. You're going hardcore.
Cartoon.
Okay. All right. That's
Nah,
it for.
it's okay. Whatever. If you like Coen Brothers, if you like Coen Brothers movie, watch it. If you don't.
Don't be so soft,
You
Vader.
are ridiculous.
Yeah,
person.
right after he tells you to go with your gut and hold the line.
I'm not gonna these guys like it, so I think I'm gonna go watch
No,
it again.
I genuinely need to go watch it again.
I have a really good feeling about it. I don't like this movie, but since Kadish said it's a masterpiece, we're gonna, go give it another shot because I'm soft.
I have an open mind.
My brain is malleable.
I have an open mind. I'm willing to go again. If I don't like it the second time, then I'll be good.
Okay, whatever. Go waste your $3.99. It's okay.
No, he has it. So I'll just borrow it from him.
Can we talk about the next movie?
Yes, we can. All right, guys. Before we move on to our next the next movie that we're going to talk about,
Our next mess.
The next mess of a movie. Before we go on to our next movie, a quick word from our sponsors.
Amazon Prime members now get free grocery delivery with a minimum order. You'll get your groceries with 2-hour delivery. So in that time, you can finally figure out where the biblioteca is, learn how to play the acoustic guitar, and I guess get a puka shell necklace. Do a makeup tutorial, but realize halfway contouring is hard, and you're beautiful just as you are. Whatever it is you're doing with your time, your shopper will be carefully picking out your favorite organic meats, produce, dairy, and snacks while providing contactless delivery to your door. Free 2-hour grocery delivery, now with Prime.
Why do millions of Americans choose to sleep on Boll & Branch sheets? Is it the 100% organic cotton? Is it that they get softer and softer over time? Customers can't stop raving about these sheets, and there's no better time to try them for yourself or give them to someone you love. Right now, Boll & Branch is offering their best deals of the year, and you can get their incredibly soft sheets at incredibly low prices. Just go to bollandbranch.com to shop their best deals today. That's BOLLandbranch.com today. See site for details.
Welcome back, everybody. Before we talk about The Rock. Before we talk about The Rock, don't forget, go to saltynerdclub.com and help support the podcast. Pick a tier. We have many different tiers to choose from, which whatever you guys can spare and send our way. We'd really appreciate it. We offer exclusive podcasts, behind the scenes pictures of cute little puppies and stuff that are pod pup and all kinds of other cool stuff to offer in return. We need your support to help us grow the brand and help us grow the podcast so we can do more awesome content for you. And our goal, of course, is to get to 1,000 patron subscribers. So if you can help us reach that, please do. We really appreciate it.
And if you don't want to send money, you can help us by telling your friends about the podcast or leaving a review or something along those lines.
Yep. Always helpful to get those iTunes reviews. It kind of boosts our signal, apparently. That's what they tell me.
Yeah, and it's not hard to do. You can just click and give us a 5-star and say a little something.
Say, Vader is awesome.
All right.
It really does help us out when you give us a review. So please go on. Please say something about us. Hopefully it's nice. It doesn't have to be, though, but we'll take what we can get.
Be salty if you have to.
Yeah.
Salty.
Go to saltynerdclub.com to join the Patreon or just leave a review while you're listening. All right, guys, moving on to our
Reviews are
next.
free.
Yes, reviews are free. It costs you $0 to review our podcast. All right, guys, moving on to the next movie is The Rock, starring Nicolas Cage and Sean freaking Connery.
Yeah.
Jude, why don't you tell us what this movie's all about?
1996, The Rock. So, I feel like the story of this is really kind of convoluted, but the movie itself is really good. I love this movie. So basically, Ed Harris's wife dies, and it made him so sad that he decided to launch a chemical war, and then he steals a bunch of green anal beads full of skin melters, and he holes up in Alcatraz, getting ready to send them out in bombs, killing millions of people. Okay, so that's one side of it. And then Nicolas Cage is an FBI chemical warfare expert, and he teams up with Sean Connery, who is the only living person who knows how to get in and out of Alcatraz. And they have to stop Ed Harris and his team of rogue Marines.
You should have seen Vader's face when you were going through that. It was classic. This is one of those occasions I wish we had video.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this movie is about.
The chemical anal beads.
Which isn't an inaccurate description.
That's exactly what they look like.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Well, they weren't tapered from small to bigger.
No, they were the professional standard.
Yeah. Those are pro anal beads. So the budget of this
Family show, for God's sake.
Never going to be able to watch this movie.
Oh, you didn't think that? You didn't immediately think
That's
that?
all I could think.
I immediately thought that. I've watched way too many pornos.
Everyone has immediately thought that watching this movie.
I've never heard that before.
I immediately thought that.
Yeah. It's
whoa.
exactly what they look like.
Those are like really cool anal beads.
Like, ooh, that's a nice color.
Don't pop those things.
Yeah, seriously. You
That
don't
will
want to
not
pop
be good.
those anal beads. All right, so this movie was made for a budget of $75 million. Alex, what do you think it brought in?
120 million.
Vader?
121.
$335 million.
I won. I won.
Yeah, this
$300 million?
was a huge hit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't bother
It's a
looking.
blockbuster.
But I'm going to assume this is Michael Bay, right?
Yes.
This is kind of
Okay.
like, didn't this kind of like put him on
So his
map?
first movie was Bad Boys, and then this was like his second movie, and it was such a huge hit that this is what launched him, and he went on to do Armageddon and a bunch of other stuff.
There's so many Michael Bay things in this movie.
For sure.
It just punch you right in the face.
You could if you're familiar with Michael Bay but had never seen this movie, you would watch this movie and go, "Oh, this is a Michael Bay movie."
Yeah.
without ever having to see it in the credits.
You'd
For
just
sure.
be watching it going, I didn't know this was Michael Bay.
Yeah, that's right.
That's exactly it.
As you can always tell, because it's the upward-looking camera angle that swipes around that character while they look the opposite direction. It's
Way over the top.
way over the top
Yeah.
action shots.
Like
The way the
frenetic camera.
music is and
Yeah.
everything.
The average medium shot in this movie, like the amount of time that we linger on a shot before we cut to another shot, is 2.5 seconds.
Nice.
like averaged out throughout the movie.
That's crazy.
I'm pretty sure he blows up half a city block every 5 minutes in this movie too.
if he can,
So,
if he
yeah.
can, he tries.
Just like
For
all
sure.
his movies.
This is
And
probably
he steals a kid's bike and he's not feeling too freaking good about it.
this is probably Michael Bay's best movie.
It might be, yeah. Yeah, it might be. I
It's
think
not-
maybe
it's not-
Armageddon.
It's not like the.
Armageddon's Michael Bay too, right?
Yeah.
I think his
I
favorite.
think I might like that one more. Go
I
ahead.
think his best one's this 12th Transformers movie.
They made the most money.
The one with Mark Wahlberg that he didn't direct.
Yeah, that one.
Anyway, so I think Jude was spot on. There's like three different
you.
movies going on
Yeah.
within this movie. And I recognized that immediately. I was like, okay, so there's this really serious, intense military movie happening
Yeah.
that's like really cool. And then there's this kind of goofy scientist movie going on where he's like this low level dude who also deals with like high level stuff. It was funny because his description of himself, he's like, I'm just an analyst. I don't do anything crazy. But then like the scene before that was him doing something crazy
Yeah.
in like a really high intense situation. So it doesn't make any sense. And then you have Sean Connery, which this is a completely different movie from the rest of them.
He's James Bond.
Yeah. He's old James Bond. And I was like, the mixing of those things was terrible and amazing all at the same time.
Absolutely.
It was so weird.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a handle on it, but I was enjoying myself. So I didn't really care.
I think this movie has my favorite car chase scene of any movie ever.
Going down to San Francisco with the Hummer.
Yeah.
So
100%.
this is a Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson movie. And for those of you who don't know who Bruckheimer and Simpson are, they were like the super producers of the 80s. They were the guys who, like, everything they touched turned to gold. And it was an interesting kind of dynamic between the two because, like, when I worked at Paramount Studios, they did like Top Gun and Days of Thunder and stuff like that. And I heard a lot of stories about the times where like Bruckheimer and Simpson worked on the lot. And Jerry Bruckheimer, he's still alive today, and he's kind of like the guy who, he does all like the big action movies, and he does like a lot of these like TV shows that are very formulaic. But Don Simpson was like this like really kind of off the wall, like he was like super creative, but he was also like a drug addict and a sex fiend and like all this other stuff. And when I worked at Paramount, they talk about how Bruckheimer would come in at like 8 a.m. and, run the office and do all the stuff. And then like by the time like the sun was setting, Simpson would stumble onto the lot and he'd just be doing cocaine and like having sex with hookers and like writing notes on like all these scripts and stuff like that. And that was kind of like their dynamic. And when this movie was coming out, this was going to be their final collaboration together because Bruckheimer just couldn't deal with Simpson's like drug abuse anymore because the guy was just like so unstable. Like he'd just fly off the handle and never sleep and like, do all this weird stuff. And Simpson actually died during the making of this film.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so like one half of that power producing team just like wiped away. So this was kind of like the end of an era. This was like the final Bruckheimer Simpson like kind of movie
Collaboration.
thing. Yeah.
If you're gonna go out, hookers and blow.
Hey,
that's the way to do it.
If you're going to do it right.
Yeah, he died of like a heart attack from complications of drug abuse.
Yeah, that sounds
Something
about
like
right.
that. Yeah,
Blew up his heart.
yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
But, Arnold Schwarzenegger was originally supposed to play the Sean Connery role in this movie.
I don't think that would have worked.
Probably not, but luckily, like, he was too busy doing other stuff, so they couldn't schedule him for it.
Yeah, I think Sean Connery was the way to go. He's got that swagger, he's got that cool vibe, and I loved his hair in this movie was on point.
Yeah, his wigs.
Yeah, his wig was awesome.
Well, funny enough, so like the script for this movie, it went through like so many different writers because Connery brought on his own writers to write his dialogue. And then Aaron Sorkin, the guy who wrote the West Wing, created the West Wing and A Few Good Men and stuff like that, he came on and he did a pass on the script. But the one who did the most script doctoring for the final screenplay was Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
At the time, Bruckheimer and Simpson were using Tarantino to like kind of script doctor a lot of their stuff, like Crimson Tide is another one. And so they brought him onto this movie. And that's where you get like the shot to the heart of epinephrine or adrenaline or whatever. And also the Mexican standoffs and stuff like that was all Tarantino.
Yeah. Now that you said it, Jude, what'd you think about this movie?
I like this movie.
Yeah.
It's a.
Would you call it a guilty pleasure?
No.
It's just a pleasure.
It's just one of those blockbusters from the 90s that when you think of a 90s blockbuster, this is exactly what you think of. I love it. It's got everything. It's got Nicolas Cage in his prime. It's got Sean Connery being cool. It's got the wacky girlfriend. And it's got just,
the wacky girlfriend.
Yeah, it's so quotable.
You like my pigtails?
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
That's where Alex is like, where's my rose water?
That was one of the most awkward freaking scenes when they're doing it and the phone rings and he's like, "You've got to be kidding me." And I'm like, whoa, Nick, what are you doing, dude?
But before that, he's all like, "Oh yeah, naughty." Naughty.
was so weird.
Naughty.
What was weird was watching you just do that right in front of my face. I'm like, that's a little awkward.
Nicolas Cage was just going full Nicolas Cage in this one, and it was wacky, man. I don't know. It was a little like, is he all right? Is he on cocaine?
Oh, 100%.
It's funny because I like to joke that you can divide up Nicolas Cage's career in pre-leaving Las Vegas, where he won the Oscar, and post-leaving Las Vegas, because right after he won the Oscar, like up to that point, he'd been known for doing these really kind of quirky independent roles, almost like Johnny Depp-ish, type of career path. And then once he got that Oscar, he's like, you know what, I'm going to cash in. And so he kind of hitched his wagon to Bruckheimer and Simpson, and he started doing like all these like big budget action movies and stuff like that. And that's what really kind of exploded his, his paycheck basically. And this was like, I think his first big action movie after leaving Las Vegas. And it just kind of set him on this career path of like doing these like high concept, big budget action films. And it's kind of interesting because we haven't even talked about like Nicolas Cage's like fall from grace yet. Where basically like, this is a guy, he was at one point, he was the highest paid actor in Hollywood, and he was making so much money and he was also spending all of it.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where basically he bought like something like 15 different properties, some of them castles, some of them islands. He had a flotilla of yachts. He had a fleet of Rolls Royces. He had millions of dollars in jewelry and art.
He has a pyramid in New Orleans cemetery.
Yeah, he had like the first edition of Superman's appearance in Action Comics. Like he would go to auctions and he'd just drop like millions of dollars on just like whatever. Like he just had no qualms about spending his money. And then the IRS came knocking on his door and it's like, Nicolas Cage, you owe us millions and millions of dollars in back taxes. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm rich. Why aren't I paying taxes? And so his business manager basically had been warning him like, Nick, you're spending more than you're making. And he just didn't listen. And so he ended up suing his business manager for mismanagement and all this stuff. But at a certain point, like he had to start making whatever movies he could just to pay off his taxes because he was broke. So like he started selling his properties. He started doing all these like kind of low budget, like straight to video movies and stuff like that, just so he could, afford to, stay out of jail. And it's really kind of sad. Like we were joking the other day that Nicolas Cage lives here in Las Vegas. And the reason he moved here was because there's no income tax in the state. So he's been here for like, I want to say over a decade, just to not have to pay income tax.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. No, a lot of people come here for that.
Yeah. But this was kind of like...
Did you come here for that, Kate?
Yeah, I did. But this was like his movie that kind of launched him into the A-list tier of Hollywood. Like this was such a huge hit. And Nicolas Cage was so good in it that people were just like, oh yeah, we want more Nicolas Cage.
He's got that those wacky mannerisms that you see a lot in his movies, and he just plays them up. And I don't know why it works. It shouldn't. Like when I'm watching it, I'm like, this shouldn't be fun, but it is.
There's something genius to his wackiness.
Yes, because it's Nicolas Cage. Like I don't think anybody else would be able to pull it off. Like those quirky little things that he does, and the way his famous like freak out moments. You know,
and there's so much that he does in his face. It's these subtle things that he does when he's reacting in a scene with his face. That's just magnificent.
Wow.
and
no, seriously, just like from an acting standpoint, when we talk about like actors who are flat in a scene, like Keanu Reeves, typically flat throughout most of his scenes in movies. Like, I'm not saying we don't love Keanu Reeves, but like put an actor like Nicolas Cage in that scene, and he'll tell you a story just by like subtle things that he does with his face before he even speaks a word.
Nicolas Cage is the other side of the coin for Keanu Reeves. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think that's fair.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah, we talked about how Nicolas Cage butted heads with the Coen brothers because Nicolas Cage has like a very kind of like artistic sensibility where he's like, I want to make choices and I want those choices to be in the movie. And it was kind of the same with this film. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Nicolas Cage, his character doesn't curse in this movie up until the very end. And when he does like, drop the F-bombs, they're meant to be poignant because like Nicolas Cage made the choice. He's like, my character doesn't curse. And that's where you get lines like Zeus's butthole and stuff like that. And it's because he made that artistic decision, and Michael Bay was just like, yeah, okay. But also like there's a scene like right after, he disarms that baby bomb at the beginning.
Yeah.
He's in his apartment. He's just like naked and he's sitting there playing a guitar. And Michael Bay, they showed up on set that day, and Nicolas Cage is like, yeah, I want to be naked for this scene. And Michael Bay's like, why? And he's like, because like, I just want to show that my character's comfortable, in his home. And so like, but like Michael Bay, like secretly, he's just like, you just want to show off your body because you got in shape for this movie, don't you? And Nicolas Cage was like, no, it's because I want to look comfortable.
Nothing more comfortable than naked.
Nothing more comfortable than that. That was actually a pretty funny scene though, because when he was like talking to his girlfriend, that little interaction that they had together, he's like, "I'm sorry, honey, I'm complaining. How was your day?" It was just like it was a weird, sarcastic Nicolas Cage moment. And I'm like, I don't know if somebody would take that the right way if you said it to him like that.
But also little things like the fact that his character likes LPs instead of CDs.
Yeah.
Like that was a Nicolas Cage decision. So
those are fun moments for the movie though.
Yeah. Like Michael Bay, he's one of those guys where like he will let his actors kind of like improvise and make their own choices. And in a way, like it kind of enhances his movies, but also other times it can really detract from them. So it's a weird balancing act, but I think it worked really well in this movie because the actors that were in this movie were so like the cast for this movie is crazy.
Oh, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely crazy. And it's kind of funny because we just watched Raising Arizona where Nicolas Cage and William Forsythe were in that movie together. And then this movie was their next pairing where like, William Forsythe plays the FBI agent with like the mustache and stuff like that. And it was just kind of interesting to kind of watch these two movies back to back and be like, oh, same actors, like years
what were
apart.
they, like 10 years apart?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It's it was a ton of fun. I don't know if I would put it on my list of like, oh, I've got to watch this like once a year. It's definitely like it's just a fun movie once in a while to kind of remember. And I love Sean Connery in it. Like Sean Connery is so freaking cool in this movie. It's so much fun to watch him be like that super sly freaking escape artist type dude. The moment.
So how was this movie built? Was it a Sean Connery movie or was it a Nick Cage movie?
It was built. Sean Connery had top billing, but it was basically Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah. If you look at the poster, Sean Connery's head is the biggest one.
And Ed Harris, even though he got like third billing, but he was like Oscar winner, Sean Connery, Oscar winner, Nicolas Cage, Oscar nominee, Ed Harris.
I thought Ed Harris was way over the top in this movie. I thought he was too intense almost.
It felt
that's Ed Harris for you.
It felt too,
but it felt like it was a bit much.
And I think you were supposed to hate him.
Yeah, but
I didn't want to hate his character.
I have a problem with how they played his character though. It kind of irritated me a little bit, but to your point, like he was on the opposite end of Nicolas Cage. Like he was taking this movie seriously, whereas I don't think anybody else was.
That's kind of how I feel about it.
Like his character was legit. Like this is a serious role. This is going to have consequences. But then everybody else was just playing. Oh, this is a fun Michael Bay action movie.
The thing about Ed Harris is like he's notoriously difficult to work with on set. He's one of those actors who will like, test a director. And if he doesn't trust the director, he will basically take over the movie. And so Ed Harris and Michael Bay, because Michael Bay's a real hard ass too. And they were constantly butting heads while filming this movie. And so like, Ed Harris, he kept saying like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And Michael Bay's like, no, you're going to do it like this. And Ed Harris is like, F you. And Michael Bay's like, no, F you. And so eventually they kind of had this begrudging respect for each other. And so Michael Bay worked with Ed Harris to make the character a little bit more sympathetic than it was originally written.
I don't think I would ever work good in Hollywood.
No, I wouldn't either.
Because you really need to have good interpersonal skills.
When you have people that work for you that tell you that they're going to do things other than the way you want them to do, that's called insubordination. And they get written up and suspended and then fired.
Yeah.
For that kind of stuff.
You can't do that with actors.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I wouldn't work good in Hollywood.
No such word in Hollywood.
In Hollywood.
It's like, listen, man, this is my movie. I hired you to play a role. Play the role this way because this is how I wrote it.
Yeah.
This is how I want you to do it. And they're, oh, no, I think it should be this way. It's like, no.
It's funny because Michael Bay had like a lot of instances on this movie where he had to like, really fight. And I think Bruckheimer compared Michael Bay to James Cameron in the sense of how he runs a set, because he's just very overbearing. He's very autocratic. It's my way or the highway. Mm-hmm. And there was when they were shooting the car chase scene in San Francisco, it was an absolute nightmare for them because they had to get so many, like they had to get thousands of permits. It put them behind schedule, over budget. And so like the executives at Disney were very kind of like, they were giving Bay a hard time all throughout the movie. But when this kind of issue cropped up with the chase scene, they were like seriously considering replacing him. And so they called him in for a meeting in the middle of shooting because they were like, we need to put this director in his place. And as he was getting ready to leave the set, Sean Connery came up and he was kind of like in his golfing outfit. He was getting ready to go out and golf and, just take a day and
be the man.
Yeah. And Sean Connery was like, Michael, where are you going? And Michael Bay said like, oh, the Disney execs are calling me in. I think they're going to try to fire me and all this other stuff. And Sean Connery was like, oh, may I join you? and Michael Bay was like, yeah, if you want to come along. And so like Michael Bay walks into this meeting with all these Disney execs and they're kind of like gearing up to fire him. And then Sean Connery comes walking behind him and everyone's like, oh, Sir Sean Connery. and so like they sit down for this meeting. And at the end of it, Sean Connery's like, listen, this kid knows what he's doing. And if he goes, I go.
Ooh, that's a pretty good impersonation too.
And so like the execs were like, whatever you say, mister.
Yeah. Goddamn right.
Yeah, so Michael Bay's like, Connery went to bat for me.
That's
man.
awesome.
Like,
That's a cool story.
Good evening, gentlemen. Here's my dick.
Shuck it, Trebek. Shuck it, Trebek. Shuck it, Trebek.
Goddamn, dude, that was awesome.
That's good. I like it.
Here's my dick.
Yeah, just laid it the entire length of the conference table. Wow.
You did a high five on that one.
I can't reach you. I got a puppy.
Hey. No. That's our thing.
Also,
I'll only give you knuckle.
Real quick, before I forget, I wanted to mention, because you brought up Ed Harris's character. There was only one thing I can really point to and say I didn't like about this movie, and it was his character's motivation setup was great. I thought it was really cool, really dark. Like, hey, I'm going to get even with the corrupt government who's been leaving these veterans out to dry, and they deserve reparations, and I'm going to force the government to do this by threatening them. And then like 3/4 of the way in the movie, after all this stuff has already happened and like this situation is beyond anybody's control, he's like, I was just bluffing. Like, what? Yeah. No. You don't rob the US government of chemical warfare weapons and then threaten to kill millions of people and then say, not really. Like, it pissed me off. I was like, come on, man. Like, I really wish they would have just like made him the ultimate bad guy for Nicolas Cage to take over. Instead of his lackeys killed him and then took over. I was just like,
they wanted to give him a little bit more depth, I guess.
Nah, I didn't like that.
But it's kind of funny, like the cast in this movie is just absolutely crazy. So like Bokeem Woodbine shows up in this movie. Michael Biehn from Terminator shows up in this movie. We've got Tony Todd, the Candyman, in this film.
I didn't like his character.
Did you know Jim Caviezel is in this film?
No, I did not know that.
He plays one of the Navy fighter jets at the fighter pilot jets at the end. Like his whole face is covered. Like you can't even tell it's him, but like he's that's him.
That's pretty cool.
Just like this weird, bizarre throwaway cameo. Philip Baker Hall who was going through kind of a renaissance during this time in terms of his acting career. Just like so many, like John C. McGinley is in this movie. The guy from
Scrubs and
Point Break.
Yep. And Office Space.
Yeah. What do you do here?
Yeah. That guy. He was a Navy SEAL, right? On Ed Harris's crew.
Yeah. He was one of the bad guys. David Morse, like there's just so many like amazing actors in this movie that just kind of like show up.
Yeah, just small little tiny parts that you can blink and you miss them. But
yeah,
it's cool. It was cool to see them all.
And the script was very straightforward, and a lot of the humor in this movie comes from like the actors ad-libbing stuff. Like most of Connery and Nicolas Cage's like big laugh lines are just them making it up, making up their own dialogue.
The thumbs up part was really funny to me. He's like, what am I supposed to do? What are you going to do about this guy? And he just gives him the thumbs up and he's like, what does that mean?
Claire Forlani from Mallrats. I forget her name. I can't pronounce her name. I'm sorry. Fiorlani?
I don't know. Is that the girlfriend?
Yeah, she was the girlfriend from Mallrats. She was also in Meet Joe Black. She was the love interest in that.
Oh, okay.
She played Sean Connery's daughter in this movie.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Right on.
That's not Nick Cage's girlfriend.
No, that's who I thought we were talking about.
Her name's Vanessa something.
The other girl.
Oh, Xander Berkeley showed up in this movie.
I don't know who that is.
He was the guy in Heat who slept with Pacino's wife, and Pacino took his TV away.
Yeah. Okay.
And I told you guys I used to hang out with him a little bit at these like film festivals.
This was his time.
Yeah. And I pointed out to Jude, I was like, oh look, it's Xander Berkeley. She's like, who? I'm like, Xander Berkeley. She's like, who?
Look, Jude, it's Xander.
she gave me a really hard time for pointing him out.
Anyway, all right, let's do final thoughts. Matthew Vader, final thoughts on The Rock.
Cool cast, cool car crashes, cool car chase. It was all right.
99% of the people agree with you.
Yeah. It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
So turn your brain off, watch some stuff on the movie screen, and
pick a moment
go with it.
Pick a moment that you think of the most of when somebody says The Rock. Who pops up into your head?
Connery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a moment
with his cool haircut?
Okay. Coming out of the jail.
Probably. I've always liked the scene where he's in the hotel when he puts the rope around what's his face's arm and throws him off. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But
good stuff.
It was just a fun movie. It's action packed from the beginning to the end, and it's a good turn your brain off movie. Like I said,
right on.
My kind of flick.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. Jude, final thoughts on The Rock.
Losers whine about doing their best. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
You didn't say it in your Connery accent.
I give it 8 out of 10 green anal beads.
Wow.
8 out of 10. Wow.
That's pretty good. Matthew Kadish, final thoughts on The Rock.
So this is peak Michael Bay. Mm-hmm. I think this is probably his best movie. And it's a shame because we watched something like Six Underground on Netflix, which is his latest movie. And you compare it to this movie and it's just like night and day. Like Six Underground is just awful. Michael Bay is one of those directors who's gotten worse over time.
He's gotten more indulgent in himself.
He named Six Underground after where it should be.
Yeah. And so like all of his early movies are actually like really good movies. I really enjoy them. This was the movie that made me like really fall in love with Michael Bay films. Like I became a Michael Bay fan after watching this movie. All the acting in it's on point. The writing of the script was very good. I just love everything about this movie. It's a lot of fun. Sean Connery. When I think of Sean Connery, like this is the movie that pops to my mind right away.
What?
Yeah, like I don't know why. It's just
that's crazy.
It's an awesome movie. Like that. This movie and Hunt for October, like the two like definitive Connery roles for me.
Okay.
Because he is playing James Bond in this movie.
But James Bond doesn't pop into your head?
No.
When you think of Sean Connery?
No, it doesn't.
That's weird.
Because I
have a hard time taking him seriously about anything now.
Well, the thing to me is because I came into James Bond way after Connery. To me, it's Connery playing James Bond, whereas with other Bonds, it's like the actor embodies the role. So to me, like Connery is a bigger character than Bond is. So I feel like he's separated from that role in my head at least. But yes, I would give this movie 10 anal beads out of anal
10 out of 10?
10 out of 10 anal beads.
10 out of 10?
It goes all the way in.
All that's left is the little ring.
All that's left is like the rope that comes out. Yeah.
God dang it. All right.
It's just a little loop you put your finger in.
Yeah.
We're going there. All right, guys. My final thoughts is it's a ton of fun. It's a guilty pleasure for me. I don't really think it's a good movie, but it's a fun movie. Like there's things about it that I'm just like, this is over the top, ridiculous Michael Bay stuff, but it's still fun. I give this movie 3 anal beads out of 5.
3. So you're only going halfway.
Only halfway.
You can only handle half.
What were you going to say?
Good for you.
So I'm trying to think of an anal bead rating.
Just the tip?
I think I'm with 3 out of 5. Okay. That's fine.
All right, guys. Moving on to our next subject. Before we do, a quick word from our sponsors.
Want to hear something amazing? Discover matches all the cash back you earn on your credit card at the end of your first year, automatically, dollar for dollar, with no limit on how much you can earn. Extra cash? Come on, how amazing is that? In fact, it's even more amazing when you realize all the places where Discover is accepted. 99% of places in the U.S. that take credit cards. So when it comes to Discover, get used to hearing yes more often. Learn more at discover.com/yes. 2020 Nielsen Report. Limitations apply.
This holiday at T-Mobile, it's not about how far apart we are. It's about how close we can be. So we're bringing out our best deal. Right now, get the iPhone 12 on us on every single plan with eligible iPhone trade-in.
Cool. So I can FaceTime with my sister in Savannah.
That's right. The iPhone 12 on us on every plan on America's largest 5G network. It's time to holiday on with T-Mobile.
With 30 monthly bill credits plus tax. If you cancel credit, stop and balance on required finance agreement may be due. Contact us for well-qualified buyers. Qualifying consumer plan required. See coverage and offer details at T-Mobile.com.
Welcome back, everybody. Hey, real quick, if you want to buy some awesome merch, we've got t-shirts, stickers, pins, anything you can think of at our TeePublic account.
Anal beads?
No. No.
Salty Nerd branded anal beads. The tapered kind.
The red and blue.
The amateurs.
God damn it, guys. SaltyNerdStore.com. SaltyNerdStore.com. You can go there and check out our merch and buy some stuff and help support the podcast and also get some really cool stuff in return. We'd really appreciate it.
Make anal beads with my name on it? Or my face?
Those are called Vader beads.
Vader beads.
That would be awesome.
If you want to leave us a review and tell us you'd like some anal beads in the merch, you know,
we got some
so
lube.
pay attention.
We got some branded lube in the pipeline.
That's your project, dude. You handle that.
Please subscribe to our OnlyFans.
You know, some of those porno guys, they do molded vibrators. You know, where they like take molds of their junk.
God, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I know, Vader.
We're talking Nicolas Cage movies.
It's like it's your very own Vader toy.
It literally looks like a Vader helmet.
Little eyeballs.
Yeah. Instead of a fist, Vader helmet.
It's a helmet, but it's Vader's ass.
God.
You know, once it got pointed out to me that Darth Vader's helmet looked like a big dick, I've never been able to look at it the same. It's like, oh God, he really does. It's ridiculous.
The silhouette of Vader is just a giant penis. Well, guys, saltynerdstore.com if you want to buy some merch.
If you leave that in, I'm going to lose it.
All right.
Please don't edit that out.
I don't know if I can.
I like to cut him off while he's saying actual things so that he can't edit me out.
You guys are such jerks.
He's just going to record it again at home.
Yeah, our intro should just be like, "Sorry, Mom."
Please don't
listen to this podcast.
Don't listen to
Salty Nerd Podcast Anal Beans.
Brought to you by.
I'm sweating. All right, guys.
He broke him. Salty's broken.
You should have had some Baileys in your coffee.
I'm not loose enough. I'm trying to not have
You're not loose enough for those beads.
Okay. Oh boy.
All right,
guys. Last movie on our list is Nicolas Cage's awesome. I love this freaking movie, Lord of War. Jude, why don't you tell us what this movie's all about?
2005, Lord of War. So Nicolas Cage and Jared Leto are brothers and arms dealers. Nicolas Cage is the head while Jared Leto is the heart, and there's no place for heart in arms dealing. So the budget for this movie was $50 million. What do you think it made?
$220 million.
Vader?
I don't remember this movie being out.
I do.
I know it's weird, but
yeah.
I don't know, 180.
$50 million budget worldwide. This movie produced $72.6 million.
Yeah.
This is my all-time favorite Nicolas Cage movie.
Never even heard of this movie before.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's really good.
I love this movie.
It's really good. I just think maybe it wasn't marketed.
Maybe.
I liked this movie a lot.
It had a big marketing push. I think they were going for awards season. I went and saw this in the theater when it came out, and I really liked it because I'm a big fan of the guy who wrote and directed it. Andrew Niccol. He was the writer for The Truman Show, and
I love that movie.
He wrote and directed Gattaca.
Got him already going to sleep.
And he also wrote the Terminal, which was the Steven Spielberg movie.
Tom Hanks movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. He
That was boring too.
He wrote and directed In Time with what's his name, the pop singer, Justin Timberlake.
Huh.
Never heard of it.
And he adapted the Stephanie
is that the one where they have the digital clock on their wrists? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. They have like a life expectancy or something.
Oh, that movie's good.
Is it? I haven't seen it.
Yeah, like Andrew Niccol,
Interesting.
he's a very talented writer and filmmaker. And I think Gattaca is probably his best movie, but a close second is this one, Lord of War.
I have to say, like, I don't remember the first time I watched this movie, but when I think Nicolas Cage movies, this is the one I think of. Like, this is my all-time.
Really?
Yeah, this is my all-time.
I'm going to think that going forward.
100%.
I'd never seen this before.
No, none of you guys. Well, Kate and Shamir, the only ones who saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Right on. I'm so glad I picked it.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. This movie, I don't know what it is about it. I think it's because Nicolas Cage, he is Nicolas Cage, but he's more subdued than he normally is. And I think when he does that as an actor, he comes off phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no moment where he's over the top. He's always very subdued, very subtle. He thinks his situations through. Like, this is like Nicolas Cage in his prime for me. I love it.
There's like an intimacy to the way that he's pulled back in the emotion.
Yes.
And when he's playing this role, there's just something very dark and intimate about this character.
Being inside his head.
And being inside his head, and like the fact that he like there's something missing from him.
Mm-hmm.
And all of it is in his brother. And that's why his brother can't handle it. And that's why Yuri, the character that Nicolas Cage plays, is so cold.
Yeah, there's a duality between the two of them. Like I can't praise this movie enough. Like normally when a movie goes full like narration, I'm usually not into it. I'm like, let me put my own monologue on these characters and let me understand them from my point of view. But for some reason, when you're going through this movie and every scene you have Nicolas Cage talking over the situation and kind of explaining to you what's happening, I'm like, this is good stuff.
I
man.
got a kind of a Goodfellas vibe from this movie, just because of the way the narration plays over the show, and that's the story. He's telling the story of his criminal career, basically.
Have you guys ever seen Adaptation?
I don't know.
That sounds like a sci-fi movie.
Well, no, it's another Nicolas Cage movie. In fact, he got nominated for an Oscar for it, but it's also an Andrew Kaufman movie, and it's Nicolas Cage plays the screenwriter who wrote the movie. In a story about him adapting a movie to a script, and it's the most meta like movie like you'll ever see, and they have a whole big thing about
a screenplay
voiceover
inside of a screenplay inside of a screenplay.
Yeah, they have a whole thing about a voiceover in that movie, where the entire movie is Nicolas Cage narrating it in a voiceover, and then he goes to Robert McKee screenwriting seminar, and Robert McKee is like, voiceover is lazy writing. You should never do it. And from that point on, there's no more voiceover in the movie. Like, it's a really brilliant film.
That's funny. The idea behind this movie of like shining a spotlight on this like dark reality that we live in, where there absolutely is arms dealers. There absolutely is these massacres that are bought and paid for by large governments that like is on the down low. Like just this like really, really dark look at the world that we live in just captures me. I don't know why.
Anti-gun movie.
Yeah. Which I don't know if it's more anti-war than anti-gun.
It's both.
It's anti-human.
Yeah, really.
Like the entire opening sequence of this movie, the opening credit sequence, it shows the creation of a bullet, through the factory where it's boxed up, shipped out to a combat zone, and then eventually finds its way into the head of a young child.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't tell you the message behind this movie, like nothing will. I mean, it's a very, very good sequence, but like, it's dark and it's very, like this is what this movie is going to be about.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's also a very kind of like gray movie because the character that Nicolas Cage plays, Yuri Olav, like he's just like the ultimate pragmatist, where he's like, I buy and sell and ship.
Yeah.
What happens with these things after they're out of my hands is not my concern.
In the whole movie, he's like, I don't kill people.
Yeah.
I'm not the one killing people. I'm just a businessman.
If he doesn't do it, somebody else will.
Yeah, that's his biggest argument too. And that's kind of like it's a weird moral conundrum that his brother just can't handle. And that's what drives him into.
Well, no one can handle it except him. That's kind of the point.
Well, that's not. I mean, he's got competitors.
I could do it.
Oh yeah.
No problem.
Oh, okay. Sure.
You just want some guns?
Well,
take care of it.
This is kind of like a rags to riches movie in the sense that it starts off, we see Nicolas Cage as like this young kind of Russian immigrant guy growing up in a crappy area of New York, and he realizes that the people who get rich are the ones who like sell the supplies to like the people who use them.
Yeah. He's funny the way he describes selling his first gun. He's like, if selling your first gun is kind of like having sex for the first time. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know what's going on, and it's over way too fast. And then they immediately show the scene where he's selling his like junky little Uzi for like $300 or whatever. And then he gets all excited and his heart's beating because the guy pointed the gun at him. Like, it's a very intense sequence. And because of that inner monologue, you kind of like understand the situation from a very unique perspective, and I think that just sells the movie so well.
Yeah, like the scene where like he sees a murder happen, and then he sees like the bullet casings hit the ground, and he's like, oh, it's like without those things, this would never have happened.
Yeah.
So I'm going to sell that stuff that everyone wants because that's a guaranteed way to make money.
Yeah. What were you going to say, dude?
There's only two things that Yuri is passionate about throughout this entire movie. It's his wife, I forget her name. Ava?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the fact that he's good at what he does. Like everything else, like even like family, his child, his brother, watching murders, almost getting murdered, doesn't really affect him as much as his obsession with Ava and the fact that he realizes that he has a passion for what he does.
Yeah. And I think he likes the idea that like, I'm the best at what I do.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody else who can do this but me.
Yeah.
And I just, it's a cool aspect of his character.
There's that great scene where, it's Christmas at the Olav household.
Yeah.
And his son is taking his first steps. And instead of looking at his son walking for the first time, he's watching the news because the Soviet Union has fallen. And he's like, look at all the opportunity I have to make money now.
Yeah.
I gotta get on a plane tomorrow.
Oh, it was such a heartbreaking moment though, because those are the things that I'm like, that's the darker aspect of this show or this movie where you're like, he's like, oh honey, that's great, honey, whatever. My kid's walking. No, I'm going to go make bank at this freaking thing.
And even darker scene was when they had just sold a bunch of AK-47s in this war zone, and they're going to leave, and they're passing by this wall, and all of a sudden these bullets come flying out of nowhere, and they like drop to the ground, and they peek out behind this wall, and it's a firing squad executing like young men, like 15, 16-year-old boys. And
that's the scene that broke his brother.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, his brother, played by
Jared Leto.
Jared Leto looks at this terrible like execution scene where they're killing these kids with the guns that they just sold them, and he's like messed up about it. And Nicolas Cage is just like, let it go. This is not our problem.
It's not our fight.
This is not our issue. And the entire movie, Nicolas Cage just has this crazy like disconnect between the ramifications of what he does.
If you're going to be in that business,
you kind of have
to have that.
But he has a point in the sense of like, if he's not doing it, someone else will, because in a market, there's always supply will always meet demand. And, like you can take out the human element of the people who sell this stuff, but you can't get rid of the demand for what it is they're selling.
Think of all the people in the real world that have this disconnect.
Yeah.
Drug dealers, arms dealers,
serial killers,
casinos.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
It's funny because like this movie, they actually used real arms dealers to like, get like the material for this stuff. Like for instance, in that scene where they're selling all those like AK-47s by the pound, it was cheaper to actually use real stockpiles of those guns that these arms dealers that were consulting on this movie had available than it was to make props for those guns.
I thought that was CGI.
No, like all that stuff was real.
What?
In fact, that the one scene where they had all those tanks lined up, those were actual tanks that these arms dealers like had available. And they lined them up and they had to call the government and let them know that they were just shooting a movie because satellite pictures would have thought that they're actually
like a war.
planning an invasion
Oh my God.
of some type. So like they had to like be like, look, we're just shooting a movie. There's nothing to be concerned about.
Hands
here.
above the table.
But like those were like real, like legit.
That's
frickin'
crazy.
tanks.
I thought maybe they staged like 3 or 4 of them for the shot and then just CGI'd the rest of them in there.
Well, you know, it's funny. Like this movie was such a low budget movie, and the reason for that was because they had trouble getting financing in the United States because no studios wanted to piss off the government by producing a movie that suggested that the government,
Suggested what the government is doing.
did these illegal arms sales. So like they had to go to foreign financiers to get the money to make this movie. So it was a very long, hard slog to get this movie made.
It was well worth it though. It was one. Again, I'm going to say it again, but this is one of Nicolas Cage's best movies.
I love that scene near the end when Ethan Hawke has finally caught up to him, and they're in that interview room, and Nicolas Cage tells him exactly what's going to happen. There's going to be a knock at the door. This is what's going to happen.
Yeah,
you're going to have to let me go. You'll probably quit over this. And that's just like it's such a like pulled back badass scene.
Yeah.
Ethan Hawke plays a character named Jack Valentine. Who is he part of the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, or is he like is he something different?
I thought he was
federal FBI.
He was FBI guy.
FBI.
Yeah. He's FBI, but he's working in tandem with drug and alcohol.
But he's kind of like the main antagonist for Nicolas Cage in this movie, where like he's the Elliot Ness. He's just like the good cop who keeps coming after him, and he'll never like break the law to get him.
I love the aspect of his character too, where he knows that Nicolas Cage is the bad guy and is breaking all of the law, like all of these laws, but he won't break the law in order to nab him.
Yeah.
And Nicolas Cage knows it, and he just like flaunts it in his face.
It's
like,
such a great.
What? This boat's called the
the Kono.
the
The
Kono
Kono.
now.
That was a great scene.
That was an awesome
do
scene.
shit. I love
that
They're
scene.
It's
like,
called
give
the
me a
Kono."
Dutch flag right now. He's like, all I have is French. What the hell is a French flag going to do for me?
He's like, turn it sideways. It's
Dutch.
And I also liked where they had to like land the plane, and then like he unloaded all the.
Oh yeah.
Gave everything away.
Oh, those people
And
though.
then they dissected that plane.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of ants, man, just going in there and just,
That was one of my favorite scenes too. They did basically like a time lapse. They had this full on cargo plane sitting in the middle of the desert, and overnight the locals around this area in Africa just came and just dismantled it. And it was a really cool parallel. I know this is like a stupid like nerd thing to care about, but like the parallel between what they said in the movie is like, this is Africa. Everything just kind of goes back to the earth. Like if you compare it to like a dead animal that dies in the desert and eventually all the scavengers come and there's nothing left by nightfall. It's kind of the same thing. And I was like, man, that is so freaking cool. Those parallels. It's like I don't know. It was just really well done. This movie captures me. The darkness of it really just like gets me. It's not a happy movie. It's not a feel good movie at all. I don't feel good when I watch it, but I'm like, it's just something
cool.
Yeah, there's something about it. I'm like, God, man, that's wild.
Yeah,
It's like,
there's this other storyline where Nicolas Cage, he's obsessed with his dream girl, who's this model that he sees on billboards and magazines everywhere. And her name is Ava Fontaine. And he's just obsessed with, getting to the point where he can get like his dream girl. And he eventually like kind of manipulates things. So like he gets to meet her, and then like he takes her on a private jet, and he basically fakes it that he's like this super rich, like well-connected guy in order to like,
he's just in transportation.
Kind of schmooze her into liking him. And basically he's like going broke, trying to convince her that he's rich, and which is odd considering what eventually happens to Nicolas Cage in real life.
Yeah.
But like part of his motivation, in addition to being really good at what he does, is that he wants to get to the point where he's not having to fake it with her anymore, where he can prove that he's actually worth her love. And so I think a lot of his motivation comes down to, trying to make himself feel like he deserves her.
The movie kind of paints her in a position where she kind of has the moral high ground, but do you guys buy that? Because I didn't. Like, she had to have either known or not wanted to face the music on it, because she acts like a victim at the end. Like, oh, my husband's this terrible person. Like you didn't think something was up. Like
the story was that
she just never asked.
She was in the dark.
Yeah.
But
she trusted him.
I think that's more on
I
her
think
though.
that she wasn't. I don't want to paint her as like a dumb person, but I don't think that she was savvy. And she did trust him, so she wasn't paranoid about this relationship. Like everything about what he presented to her, she was just like, I'm just going to take that on face value. She also wasn't like a super smart, intelligent person. She was this model who all she ever had to be was pretty. And throughout the movie, she starts getting a little bit more emotionally intelligent about what's going on. And then by the end, she has to make the choice between like choosing not to know or knowing it's going to blow up her life.
Yeah, there's that great scene where Nicolas Cage comes home from Africa and she's just like sitting naked in the bedroom in the dark. And he's like, why are you naked in the bedroom in the dark? And she's like, everything's got blood on it.
Yeah.
Because Jack Valentine came to her and basically spilled the beans about what Nicolas Cage really does. And at that point, she's like, look, you either have to go legit or I can't be with you. And so like Nicolas Cage goes legit for a while and it throws the FBI off for
like 6 months.
Yeah. They're like, oh, all the numbers.
Everything's legit.
Yeah.
It's all real.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you up to?
Like, what's going on here? This can't be real. It was a good moment. That's another good question asked too, is do you guys think that there's any outright humor in this movie, or is it all just situational? Because there's moments where you kind of chuckle, like, oh, it's like a dark comedy.
It's more clever. Like, I thought that was clever.
I don't think it's a comedy. I think it's
when his Russian general uncle, he buys him a new car and he's like, it's my lucky day. And he goes into the car and then it blows up.
Oh, that's a dark moment. It's very, I don't know. I can't say it's a comedy. It's not a comedy, but it's just like, it has moments where you're kind of, like you said, it's just a clever, like, oh, I see what you did. That's interesting.
So the actress who plays his wife, Bridget Moynahan.
Moynihan.
So like, she's a very attractive woman, but originally Monica Bellucci was set to play this role. And would you have rather had Monica Bellucci in this role?
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is either.
She was in the Matrix movie. She was the Italian woman who was with the Merovingian.
No. In the second one?
Yeah.
No. The actress in this movie had kind of a what's the word for naive? Naivety? Is that a word?
Naivete.
Mm-hmm.
She had the right vibe for like somebody who was a little bit naive. I don't think if you would have put that actor from The Matrix into this, she's a little bit more sultry, I think. Maybe too sultry.
I think that her naivety would have been a little less believable.
Yeah. I think it would have worked. I think it worked fine the way it was. But this movie, watching Yuri's character through his life and just like everything's falling apart. Like while his life is declining, his monetary value is going up, and
his business is doing really well.
That's all he really cares about until eventually it just comes to a head. And
ultimately, his business costs him his family. So like he loses his brother, Jared Leto. His parents disown him. His wife and child leave him. And basically, like all he has left is the job. But in a way, like that's kind of all he really had to begin with. But he basically traded his family, the stuff that's really important in life, for riches and things of that nature. And it's kind of interesting because like he has this weird relationship with this character Andre Baptiste, who's the president of Liberia, I guess.
Yeah.
And you kind of see these weird parallels between these two guys who are willing to sacrifice anything for power and wealth. And, they have these like weird conversations throughout the movie where he's like, they call me Lord of War.
And he's like, no, it's Warlord.
Yeah,
he's like, thank you.
No,
I prefer it my way.
I prefer it my way. And the guy's son, who's named after him, is called Junior. Very, Raising Arizona.
Yeah.
He's always like he's such a douche, and he's always like, "Can you get me the gun of Rambo?"
Yeah.
He's like, parts 1, 2, or 3.
I've only seen part 1.
Seen the first.
It's cool. Yeah, it's always cool to watch him in these situations where like he could literally be shot any moment and nobody would even blink. He's always on the cusp of chaos, and it's just a cool. I don't know how to describe. I'm not very good at describing
This is a movie for me. I was kind of just engrossed in it from the get-go. It's one of those movies that starts telling you a story, starts the narration, it sucks you in, and next thing you know, the movie's over.
Yeah.
That's how it happened to me anyway. I enjoyed this movie. I had a really good time with it.
Do you have a moment that really stuck out to you that was like either really, really dark and kind of like put you off a little bit, or something that you really enjoyed?
No, I think we've already kind of covered those parts, the dark parts that just kind of like really point out what a shitty business this is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not a nice guy. He's not a good guy.
No, I think Jared Leto's death in this movie.
Jared Leto was really good in this movie. For sure.
His death in this movie was particularly dark though, because they were selling these guns. It was like the last job he was going to do. He needed his brother's help. He goes there and they have
And
this.
his brother was out.
Yeah, he was out. He was legit.
And he was doing well.
Yeah, he got cleaned up off the drugs because he was a drug addict for a while.
Yeah.
Well, so was Yuri. Yuri got out, and then the guy came to his house.
Yeah, and sucked him back in.
You're gonna sell me this stuff, or else. Because now I know where you live. Basically, is what happened, right? And then Yuri was like, well, I guess I better do this some more. You know, which is what he does, which is what he's good at. And then that's when everything fell apart. That's when his wife found his storage bin and everything, and
it all fell apart.
And everything went to shit.
Yeah, it was just.
But when he went legit, he was legit. He was doing good.
But he was also miserable.
He was not making any money either.
And it was the hardest I think he'd ever worked.
Yeah, he's like, a legit dollar is the hardest thing you ever have to get. But just that scene with Jared Leto when everything kind of started falling apart, like that always sticks out to me as one of like the darkest moments in this movie, because we're selling guns to these like warlord people, and there's like this little village of just innocent people. And his brother, played by Jared Leto, is just like, dude, if we give them these guns, they're going to go down there and they're going to massacre.
After he just watched this lady and her kid get packed up by people with
and Yuri's like, it's not our problem, dude. We just got to get out of here. I'm like, oh my God, dude, are you really? And he goes through with it. Even after his brother dies, he still finishes the deal. And it's just like,
he sells them half the guns.
Yeah, he sells them half the guns are left.
Half the diamonds.
I'm like, oh my gosh, man, that just hits you so hard, man. It's such a well done, like poignant. Is that the word?
Yeah.
Like a poignant moment in the movie that really sticks out to me. I was like, Jesus. It's like,
this is a very smartly written movie.
Yeah.
Like this is one of the reasons why I find Andrew Niccol is such a great writer and director. And it's because like he's a consummate storyteller. Like every single one of his movies I've seen has that kind of like intelligence to it where, he knows how to communicate his themes and he knows how to do it in a way that's not heavy handed and believable. Like this is a very kind of like anti-gun, anti-war movie. But you can still watch it and be like, oh, that's a good movie, even if I don't agree with, everything that he's preaching.
Yeah. I don't think I wouldn't say it's like preachy at all.
No,
it's just kind of like pointing a spotlight on a reality that might exist in the world. Cause I think it's based off of true events, right? For the most part?
Not really. Like the main character is an amalgamation of like 5 different arms dealers that Andrew Niccol kind of like researched. But like the overall thing is like the main character, the guy that we're following throughout this whole thing is arguably just like not a good person.
Yeah.
Like he operates in shades of gray, basically. In fact, I think there's a line in the movie where he's like,
gray is my favorite color. Yeah.
Where he's like, you have black, you have white, and then you have where I like to live, which is in the gray.
Mm-hmm.
And, like the fact that the character is so amoral and so like kind of like pragmatic almost, it kind of balances out the different moral arguments that are made. Cause you have some people who are like, yes, like I am the Lord of War. I want these weapons to kill people. And then you have, the opposite end where it's like, we have to stop this. We have to save people's lives. And Nicolas Cage is just like right in the middle of them where he's like, I don't care. Just give me money.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an interesting balancing act throughout the movie.
Yeah, it's cool. I think just from the director that you were talking about, how good he is at writing, I think also on a performance level, I think he got some of the best performances for some of these actors in this movie. Like Nicolas Cage, you have to kind of reel him in to get the best work out of him. Like he goes way off the rails if you just let him do his thing, or he can be really perfect and subdued. And I think this director did a great job of getting that out of him.
Andrew Niccol kind of did the same thing with Pacino. He did a movie called Simone with Al Pacino, where I think, he was just able to strike the right balance with Pacino's performance. But Ethan Hawke is in like almost all of Andrew Niccol's movies. And, his performance in Gattaca, I think, was probably one of the best.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke is an underrated actor. Like, I can't think of a movie that I don't like him in. He just kind of pops in every once in a while, and I'm like, oh, hey, there he is. He's great in everything he does.
It's like Sven Thorsen.
All right, so let's do some final thoughts and wrap it up for the podcast. Vader, what do you think about Nicolas Cage, Lord of War?
I liked it. Good movie. Yeah, I mean, I hate it when you ask me these kind of questions.
I ask you every time.
I know. It was fun. I enjoyed this movie, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
It hooked me from the beginning, and next thing I knew, it was over. And if a movie does that, then I can't.
Did your wife watch it?
No.
Do you think she would enjoy it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
That would be the real test.
Yeah.
Yeah, the story test.
Yeah, the story test.
Yeah.
Jude, final thoughts on Lord of War.
I really enjoyed this movie. I'd never even heard of it before, let alone watched it. And I was very pleasantly surprised by it. And I really liked the differences in the characters between the two brothers, how like non-reactive Nicolas Cage was compared to his brother, played by Jared Leto, who just reacted
To everything.
just so egregiously to everything. He was just so horrified by every aspect of this, whereas Jared Leto was just like,
You mean
didn't
Nicolas
feel
Cage?
any. I'm
Nick
sorry.
Cage.
Yeah, Nicolas Cage had no reaction at all.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. That
I-
these two
I'm sorry.
brothers. Go ahead.
I really thought that scene was kind of funny when the drug dealer, the Colombian guy, paid him with cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, what are we supposed to do with this?
Celebrate.
Celebrate, right? So then they're in the car, and he's like, well, you might as well check it out. So he snorts some of it. And next thing you know, it's like he's full on
He's in Bolivia.
done.
Yeah.
He's done. It's like, well, I had to go find him a week later in some little village in the middle of the rainforest.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Jared?
Didn't you think that like the brothers? I forget Jared Leto's name in this.
Oh, okay, does she have it up?
It's Vitaly.
Vitaly.
Yeah. So Yuri is Nicolas Cage,
Mhm.
and I felt throughout that Yuri kind of treated Vitaly as like a pet more than a brother. Like he'd knock that little bit of coke out onto the seat for his brother to snort off of the seat.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. I just didn't feel like he connected to him in a family way more than you would like.
Well, it's
your
his
pet.
baby brother.
Yeah,
I think he
but,
treated him like a baby brother, even though they were adults.
Being the big brother, I think that was pretty much spot on.
Really.
It's also funny how like Vitaly, after he becomes like a drug addict, like every time he shows up at Nicolas Cage's house, he has a new girlfriend.
Yeah.
Her name is Angel. No, really, it's Angel.
And then like he'll like forget their names and like they'll just have to introduce themselves.
Yeah.
It's like not even he can keep track of his girlfriend.
I think at one point she's like, "Hi, my name's Candy," and somebody else is like, "Of course it is."
Candy, Bambi, Angel.
You guys have a nice everything.
Stripper names.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was that one time where Nicolas Cage didn't even bother, like, just get out, here's some money, go away. And then you see the scene where the girl just flips through and counts the money and walks away. Like, this movie just gets me, man. I love this movie. It's my favorite Nicolas Cage movie out there. And I think it still holds up. Every time I watch it, I feel like I find something new to enjoy about it. It's just such a deep and dark movie that you can kind of dissect it every time you watch it.
This is one of those movies that I'm glad we watched because I had never seen this movie before.
Right on.
And I'll probably watch this one again.
Yeah.
And I would say of the three movies we've watched, Nicolas Cage's performance was probably the best in this one. Like when Nicolas Cage really kind of dials, because, he's known for these over exaggerations and explosions of like, theatricality, I guess you'd call it, or overacting in some girls. That's what, when we think of Nicolas Cage, that's what we think of. But in this movie, like you can really see his acting chops. Like when Vitaly dies at the end, and you see him look at his brother's body, and he's just horrified, and then he has to like kind of get it together and go and finish the deal. The type of emotion that you see playing across Nicolas Cage's face in that scene is really like you can see why he's won an Oscar, because like it was really powerful what he was doing. But funny enough, did you guys know that his son Weston was in this movie?
I didn't even know he had a kid.
Yeah, it was his son. It wasn't his first marriage. It was before his first marriage.
Nicolas Cage's son?
Nicolas Cage's son, yeah. Weston Cage Coppola. He plays the helicopter mechanic.
Oh, that kid?
Yeah, the guy who takes the nukes off.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, that was Nicolas Cage's actual real life son.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, apparently he's like a death metal singer. Like he's like
that sounds perfect.
He was the lead in this death metal band that I think disbanded around 2010, and now he's in like another death metal.
I need
band.
to look this up
He's
now.
he's like one of these.
I'm
goth
surprised
guys.
Vader hasn't already.
I might know who he
you
is.
might, yeah.
You probably have it on a playlist.
Probably.
Right on. All right, Kadish, final thoughts on Lord of War.
Yeah, this is a 5-star movie in my book. It's incredibly well written, incredibly well acted, incredibly well directed. It doesn't age.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of timeless.
It's set in the from the
I think
80s
it
to the
starts in the
90s.
80s,
Yeah, it starts in the
yeah.
early
It
80s.
starts in the 80s and kind of goes.
Well, Cold War.
Yeah, Cold War era.
When that fell.
But I feel like you can watch this at any time, and you're right. It just doesn't. It plays the same no matter what.
Yeah, and so like because of that timeless quality, you can watch it at any point in time and enjoy it just as much as like when it first came out. So like I think this is one of Nicolas Cage's strongest movies. In fact, all 3 movies that we watched this week, I think, are like perfect examples of Nicolas Cage throughout various points in his career.
I agree with you.
Yep. I think we did a great job, guys.
Yeah.
Good job, team.
Good on us.
All right.
Nicolas Cage retrospective.
Yeah. I also give this a 5 out of 5. I think it's a perfect movie, and it's like I said a million times, it's my favorite Nick Cage movie.
Should have watched Ghost Rider.
No, thanks.
I almost watched that yesterday.
You know what? If you really wanted to go for like crazy Nick Cage, was it The Witcher or something like that? What was it called?
The Wicker Man.
The Wicker Man. Like that movie.
The bees.
The bees. Like that's like full on crazy Nick Cage. So it's cool to watch him and his career kind of go up and down like a roller coaster.
What was that one that all the memes come from where he's like looking all crazy? It's like
Face Off?
No.
It's some type of vampire movie.
I know what you're talking
The Vampire's Kiss.
Something
Kiss
like
of
that.
the Vampire.
Kiss of the Vampire.
And there's another movie that he did where he's like a medieval crusader dude and they're transporting a witch or some shit, right?
Really?
Oh, I like that movie.
What is that movie called?
I've never heard of it. That sounds fun.
I've watched it. It was terrible.
No, it's not terrible. It's good. It's got a.
That's not The Vampire's Apprentice.
No.
It's.
It has the dude that played Beast and Beauty and the Beast in it.
No, I've never heard of it. This sounds awesome though.
Yeah, I forget what that's called, but I.
This was after he started taking jobs for.
Oh no, this movie. When we do another Nick Cage week, we're
all right. There's another. There's a movie that I've been wanting to watch. It's gotten a lot of like buzz. I don't know if it won any awards or not, but that Mandy movie.
Oh yeah,
I really want to watch that.
I do too, but I don't want to invest that much time.
like to me, Mandy is up there with like what was that Color movie you watched?
Color Out of Space.
Color Out of Space.
Yeah,
like, it's kind of in the same category where like it looks cool, it looks interesting, but ultimately it's just going to be awful.
So you guys think that Nick Cage is going to recover from this current bout of nonsense and get himself back into a AAA status?
No.
Who knows, man? I mean, it's 2020, man. Anything could happen.
I mean, his latest movie is Jiu-Jitsu, if that's any indication.
Well, this might be a low point. You know, like maybe it bounces back.
2020 is a low point for most people.
Yeah, really.
He's been in a low point for like over 10 years.
That's okay.
So.
That's all right. People come back from that.
Did you get off of Nick Cage's back?
I'm going to have to get you. Yeah.
I found it.
What is it called?
It's called Season of the Witch.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Awful movie.
It's not an awful movie.
Is it free? I need to watch it.
It probably.
I'll have to find it and watch it. There's a Nick Cage movie. It was called Primal Rage or something like that.
Okay.
And he plays this complete dickhead of a like great white hunter who goes to the Amazon and like gets animals and sells them to zoos and stuff. And he gets stuck on this boat.
God. I'm sorry.
What?
But I just had this image in my head of Nick Cage playing Tiger King.
That is what it is.
Well, he was cast as Joe Exotic.
He's gonna be.
Yeah, he's going to be Tiger King.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah,
he was cast.
But
he's perfect for it.
But this movie, you've got
that's going to be his comeback kid role.
Maybe, yeah,
that's it.
Maybe. But this movie, Primal Rage, I think that's what it's called. It's on Amazon Prime. I think you can watch it for free. But he plays this guy. He gets stuck on a boat, and there's this like there's a fugitive who gets caught by the FBI, and he's locked up on this boat, and they're taking him back. I don't know why they're not on a plane, but they put him on a boat, and he escapes, and he starts murdering everybody on the boat, and it's up to Nick Cage to stop this like rampaging psychopath from murdering everybody, and it's freaking incredible. I had so much fun watching it. It's not a good movie, but it's so much fun, and I'm like, I think he's got it still in him. I think he can make it back. I think he can get back to his AAA status. He just needs a couple of good one-up movies.
I just want Nicolas Cage to start doing movies where the people who are making the movies just let Nicolas Cage be Nicolas Cage.
I want Nicolas Cage and Steven Seagal to team up and do a kung fu movie.
Steven Seagal still around?
Yeah. He just released.
Well,
I want them to do like a buddy cop kung fu movie.
Oh my God.
Nicolas Cage played Spider Noir in the new Spider-Man
He
Into the
voiced
Spider-Verse.
Spider Noir.
Yeah, I thought that was a great movie, and I liked his character in
Wait.
it. Like,
Wasn't he in Kick-Ass too?
Yeah,
yes,
Yeah,
he
he was good in that.
Yes, I'm telling
Yeah.
you, he's still got it in him.
No, I'm not saying Nicolas Cage isn't good. I'm just saying like he's
You
never
better not.
he's never going to be, an A-lister again.
I disagree. I think
Oh,
there's
no.
hope. I
Think
think there's
you
hope.
I think you could. We're gonna drive over to his
He's
house.
an outlaw. You can tell by the little glint in his eye.
If jiu-jitsu is at his point right now, I think we might have a chance of getting him on the
I
podcast.
thought he looked good in it.
Listen, I think jujitsu he just did us a favor for a buddy. Or something.
It's possible. We'll talk about it. There, guys, we're going
Yeah.
to do a review. Actually, no, the review comes out before this episode does. Anyway, yeah, enjoy our review of jiu-jitsu.
If you haven't seen it yet,
Anyway, yeah,
We're
there's
going back in time.
Yeah. Nick Cage is a great actor. I think he has a lot of potential to come back from his current slump. And I'm looking forward to it.
Oh man,
Maybe he's having the best time of his life. Why are we calling it a slump?
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe he's just
Does he need money?
It's
now?
like Kadish as a zombie. He's like, don't kill me. It might be awesome.
like he just got married and then he got annulled like within like 40 hours of
Really?
getting married out here. Yeah, like there were reports from like I think I read in the Las Vegas Sun where like he had just gotten his marriage license and he was like, I don't want to effing do this, and like the woman he married was like, I didn't make you, So like I think his life is still like.
What, did he go
very
down to like the spearmint rhino or something?
something like that?
It's like, oh my God, you're
Yeah, they,
so
they
good
have
looking.
a wedding chapel in the Spearmint White Rhino.
yeah.
I don't know, like his last wife, before this one, she was like this Asian girl that he had a kid with, and they named their kid Kal-El. And then they got divorced, and then he married this chick who I think was like a hairdresser or like a nail salon lady or something like that. Nicolas Cage has this thing for exotic women.
No, who doesn't? All right, guys, that's it for today's podcast. Thanks for joining us. If you want to support this podcast, go to saltynerdclub.com, join a tier, help support the podcast so that we can gain more cool equipment and do more content for you guys and hopefully spend some more time trying to entertain you in this wild, wild time that we call the 20s. The 20s.
Is that what we're calling it?
It's the 20s again. I mean,
the terrible 20s.
What a way to roll in the new decade.
It's a different kind of roar, isn't it?
Yeah. All right, guys, around the table, where can we find everybody on the socials? Jude.
You can find me at I am Juju on Instagram and Twitter.
Right on. And Matthew Kadish.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter and Parler. You can also find me on Amazon at www.kadishbooks.com.
All right, Barbarian Space Viking.
Matt Vader 74 at Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube.
You jumping on that new WoW expansion pack?
Yeah, as soon as I get out of here.
Okay. So check them
It
out.
came out yesterday, but I had to watch all these dumb movies, so I didn't have time.
All right, man. Right on. And I am your host, the Salty Nerd. You can catch me on Twitter at salty_nerd. Talk about movies. Talk about Nick Cage.
What do we got coming up next week?
Next week, I don't remember.
It's Christmas week.
Oh, we're doing Die Hard next week?
Die Hard next
Oh,
week.
boy.
Die Hard.
Yeah, guys, we're doing the Die Hard trilogy for next week for our Christmas.
3 out of 5 anyway.
Those are the only
how you
ones
call it,
that exist.
Call it the ever-expanding trilogy of 5 movies.
Yeah, I call it. I just see it as a trilogy. I didn't really pay attention to the other ones. The other ones are spin-off.
I actually think
We're
it's
going from Nick Cage to Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
And we have really high standards.
but these are my Christmas movies.
Yeah.
so.
Kadish requested one thing for December. He wanted to do Die Hard. So that's what we're doing. So join us next week as we dive into that awesome, fun, adventure, action greatness. And join us. Follow us. You know what to do.
Review us.
Review us. Leave us a 5-star review. All that cool stuff.
Anal beat us.
Yeah.
All right, guys. On that note, have a great one.
Check Check out Macy's Cyber Monday specials now while supplies last for great savings on holiday gift ideas like designer names you know they'll love, now 40 to 60% off. And women's boots and shoes to finish the look, 50 to 60% off. And upgrade your bedroom for cooler nights with cozy flannel bedding, quilts, and accessories from Martha Stewart collection, now 65% off. Plus, Macy's Star Rewards members earn on every purchase except gift cards, services, and fees. Savings off sale and clearance prices, exclusions apply.
Amazon Prime members now get free grocery delivery with the minimum order. You'll get your groceries with 2-hour delivery. So in that time, you can use photo filters to imagine what you would look like with bangs. But don't do it. Just imagine. Meditate. Notice your body. Feel your breath. Am I doing this right? Get lost in a Wikipedia spiral. How do flowers propagate? Whatever it is you're doing with your time, your shopper will be carefully picking out your favorite groceries while providing contactless delivery to your door. Free 2-hour grocery delivery, now with Prime.